You're listening to Bloomberg Businessweek with Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
It's an ugly truth out there. Doing business, Carol, it's just not good for the environment. In fact, more than half of greenhouse gas emissions in the U.S. come from two sources, transportation and industry. That's according to the EPA. And those two things, they're closely tied together. After all, you've got to get what the industry produces wherever it's going. And that takes planes, trains, and automobiles, all which emit carbon.
The Environmental Defense Fund is a global nonprofit organization. It's taking on climate change. It calls, quote, it the greatest challenge of our time. And this organization works with companies you know so well, Amazon, Walmart, Danone, FedEx, GE, and more. And it's all about reducing their impact on the environment. Delighted to have with us Fred Krupp. He's president of the EDF, and he joins us on Zoom from San Francisco. Fred, thanks so much for being with us. We are living in a world where there's a lot being thrown at everyone, global companies in particular, when it comes consistently to our environment. I feel like after a summer, a year, where I feel like once again we had superlatives when it comes to the impact on our climate. Tell us a little bit about the work you're doing, and more importantly, I want to know about the progress that you feel like companies are making, or if they are.
But hey, thanks, Carol. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you. Companies are at the center of a lot of the emissions and pollution that we have, and so it just stands to reason that they present a big opportunity to make progress. So you asked, Carol, are we making progress? Absolutely. More and more companies see tremendous value in cleaning up their businesses, creating new products that are more sustainable or reduce greenhouse gases. You can see that in the tremendous, market cap at Tesla. You can see that in companies that want to do right by climate in order to improve more employee morale and their ability to hire employees. Many companies now realize that their reputation, their character is judged on the basis of whether they're a leader or a laggard. So we're seeing a lot of companies right now very motivated to take big steps as opposed to, cosmetic things or just spinning little things as though they were big things that we saw so much of in years past, and still see some now.
Hey, Fred, can you talk a little bit about the strategy at the Environmental Defense Fund? I think people it's a nonprofit that's more than 50 years old at this point. So I wanted to hear about the change in strategy that you guys had, maybe about 15 years ago, when you went from suing the companies to try to get them to change their behavior to actually actively partnering with them these days.
Yeah, so our original motto when we were founded was "Sue the Bastards." I don't think that was the official motto, but that was informally the motto. And then we realized, I think longer than 15 years ago, but we did realize that, finding the ways that work, made more sense. And, if we can, without having to go to the Senate or the Congress here in the United States or legislatures around the world, if we can go directly to Amazon and FedEx and help them to have more electric trucks, or go to Danone, which has 55,000 dairy farms that supply them, and work with them to make an industry-leading commitment to reduce the methane emissions from their supply chains by 30%. Not by 2050, but by 2030. That change in strategy, Tim, reflected the fact that, sometimes just going to the folks and talking to them, you can find a quicker way to a solution than throwing bricks at them.
Fred, help me out here, though. Like, you guys, as a nonprofit, right, are reliant on donations, and I'm assuming corporate donations as well. And I'm just wondering, how do you do it and avoid conflict of interest in terms of the financial support that comes in perhaps from the corporate community that keeps you guys going, as well as, making sure that you are pursuing the toughest policy you can to protect the environment with these entities at the same time?
Hey, Carol, thanks for that question. I should have clarified 99% of our funding does not come from corporations. We occasionally will accept a gift if there's a company that has an employer match plan or something like that. But the partners that I've mentioned, we've received no corporate funding from Walmart or Danone or Amazon or FedEx. So we avoid that conflict of interest, pretty effectively.
But do they pay you to partner with them?
No.
Wow. So talk a little bit about how that works.
We get funded by individuals, by members who see the value of a kind of a different approach. And these are, we have several 100,000 members and people that give us small donations, medium size and large, just because those of us who are concerned about climate see an urgency in getting things done. So when they see a partnership with Walmart to cut 1 billion tons of waste and pollution. That's, Tim, that's the same amount as Germany emits in a year.
Wow.
When they see that partnership achieving results, and they understand why, we don't want to take money from the company to have that conflict of interest to do that work. People step up and say, hey, we want to fund that. We like the idea that you're getting results, and we see why you want to have a measure of independence. And so that's worked really well for us. Those people in the, environmentalists like myself, I hope I can include the two of you. What we care most about is getting results, and it's unconventional to work directly with companies, but often, not always, but oftentimes it works. Just hasn't been tried often enough.
Would you say, and no, just full transparency. So thank you for answering our questions, because we do have listeners and viewers who write in and be like, hey. But Fred, do you find that because of greater regulation and oversight and COP and goals, whether it's through Europe or through the United States, that has made the corporate environment much more open to being more aggressive when it comes to climate goals? Is it about that, or is it also about that they're realizing their existence alone is also important about protecting the environment?
Hey, another great question. Thanks, Carol. It's a combination of things. Everybody's got children. I now have 3 grandchildren, so I think we all want to leave the world better than we found it, and that includes, many, not all, but many people who work in companies. We need regulations. Working with companies alone is not going to solve climate change. I'm so happy to see the Biden administration putting in strong rules requiring a shift to electric vehicles, requiring, massive reductions in greenhouse gases. So these corporate partnerships, it's one tool, but we need regulations. We also sometimes need lawsuits. Not a very efficient way to change the world, but it's sometimes necessary. So there's lots of motivations. And, Carol, we don't much care about the motivation. We just want the results. And so where we can, we make the case that they'll make more money. They will harvest value through better reputations, better employee morale, capturing additional market share of electric vehicles by going in this new direction, that it's in their business interest. And if that's what motivates them, that they'll make more money, that's fine with us. We just want the change.
I agree. And you're talking to 2 environmentalists right here. Fred, thank you so much. Look forward to hopefully continuing the conversation. Fred Krupp, president of the Environmental Defense Fund. Pancreatic cancer is the 3rd leading cause of cancer-related deaths in the United States. The 5-year survival rate is just 12%. And I've got to say, this cancer is very much near and dear to me. I lost my mom to it, 2 other family members, and 2 other very close friends of the family. It's a cancer, Tim, that many seem to say is rare, and yet it seems like more and more individuals are getting it and unfortunately dying from it. So it's a really tough one, having seen it firsthand. Really, really difficult.
And the question is are things improving at all? We've got a great guest with us this afternoon who's in the know of all things pancreatic cancer. Julie Fleshman is president and CEO of the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. Julie joins us on Zoom from California. Julie, good to have you with us this afternoon. I was shocked to see that those statistics are still so low. Only 12% of people who get a pancreatic cancer diagnosis survive 5 years. Why?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I'm so sorry to hear about your own personal experience. So pancreatic cancer is tough. One, there is no early detection test for the disease. So usually by the time it's diagnosed, it's late stage and it's already metastasized or spread to other organs beyond the pancreas, making it very difficult to treat. If you think about where your pancreas is, it's deep in your abdominal cavity, behind your stomach, in front of your spine. It's not something you could feel, like you have your breast, you might feel a bump or a lump. You can't feel your pancreas. And so it's difficult to get to, and we don't have an early detection test.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I know for my mom, and particularly, like the symptoms can be indicative of other things, kind of not so serious things, and sometimes it takes a while for it to diagnose. Having said that, I always feel like, Julie, that a cancer, I think of Katie Couric and her husband, and colon cancer, like when a celebrity or somebody high profile gets something, that all of a sudden, attention is paid, money goes into it. Is money going into research to find ways to do either a test or earlier detection of pancreatic cancer? As you say, it's so difficult. And by the time you find it, there's so much going on by the pancreas, it's just difficult to deal with.
Yes. I mean, so one of the challenges with this disease is 20 years ago, there was no funding being put into pancreatic cancer research, both from a private perspective and from a government federal perspective. That's definitely changed. I think PanCan and our advocacy efforts have really helped to be a catalyst to infuse dollars and interest and support in pancreatic cancer research. So today there is a vibrant pancreatic cancer research community. Most major medical institutions across the country have a pancreatic cancer research program. So there's a lot happening today. There are a lot more dollars being invested in pancreatic cancer research. But we, quite frankly, for the severity of the disease, we still need more. We need more people to step up, to donate, and to raise their hands to help us with this challenging disease.
What are rates that we're seeing right now, Julie? Are they stable? Are they increasing? Are they decreasing? What can you tell us?
Yeah, so the 5-year survival rate, although 12% is dismal, obviously, and unacceptable, that has gone up by 1% each year for the last couple of years. So we are moving in the right direction. When I started doing this work, 2 decades ago, the 5-year survival rate was just 4%. It had gone up to about 6% in 2011, and since 2011, it's gone from 6 to 12. So again, not acceptable. We still have a lot of work to do, but I think it does show that there is a lot more interest. There is a lot more work being done. We not only need an early detection test, but we also need better treatment options. Even those people who are diagnosed early and have surgery, many times there is a reoccurrence. And so we also need better treatment options for patients.
So talk to us about some of the signs, because as I said to you, I know for my mom, particularly, there were things that were going on that, it took a while to really diagnose, because it could be read as just, upset stomach and some different things. So it does take a while sometimes to figure it out. But symptoms that maybe people should watch out for at this point. It doesn't necessarily mean you have it, but it might at least cause you to at least ask the questions of a member of the medical community.
Absolutely. And that's what we want. We want people to be aware so that they can be their own best, patient advocate. And the symptoms are fairly benign. It's things like sudden weight loss. So if you suddenly lose weight and, people are excited, I lost weight, but if there's not a reason for it, that's the kind of thing you should pay attention to. Stomach pain, back pain, jaundice or yellowing of the skin or eyes is many times a telling symptom for pancreatic cancer, although usually comes on more late stage. New onset diabetes, that's a symptom that we understand more about today, that for some people who get sudden onset diabetes, that may be an early symptom of pancreatic cancer. And people can go to pancan.org to read about all of the symptoms as well as the risk factors for the disease.
Is there a chance that there will be a test someday? I know that in members of my family or my world, that when there's been some concerns, we've done baselines just to kind of have something to compare, God forbid. But having said that, does the medical community, the research community, with the right amount of time, money, approach, that there will be some kind of screening test someday? And is genetics, the genetic testing, I know, is something that certainly I'm curious about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a lot of research going on in this area. I think kind of 3 areas: blood tests. So there is work being done to develop a blood test, a blood marker, where, someone, if you took someone's blood, you would be able to potentially see the circulating DNA that might tell you that the person has cancer. And then, so that's one area. There's tests being done that are blood tests that are being worked on specifically for pancreatic cancer. And then there's blood tests that are being worked on across many cancers, where someone might go in and had blood work done, and it might give them an indication of, across many different types of cancers.
Right.
Usually these tests are not definitive, and you still have to do them, follow up, but at least might give someone an indication that they should do that sort of next step.
Right.
Genetic testing, as you mentioned, is another area. We know people who are at a higher risk if they've had someone in their family who's had pancreatic cancer. So understanding your genetic risk is important. Understanding, did the person who had pancreatic cancer, did they have testing?
We have to run, unfortunately, but a lot of great information. Julie Fleshman, she's president and CEO of Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. Thank you so much.